The fall of Earth. The Dominion came without warning. One moment, Earth's skies were clear. The next, they were filled with fire. The fleets of the alien Dominion descended like an iron storm, blotting out the sun with titanic warships that stretched across the horizon. Their weapons, beams of searing light and storms of plasma, burned through Earth's defenses in hours. Satellites, space stations, and fleets that had taken humanity generations to build were torn apart in a single night. Cities fell in fire and thunder. New York, Beijing, Moscow, Rio, each was silenced under the roar of alien bombardments. Armored leviathans marched through streets, once filled with laughter and music. Humanity's armies fought with courage, but courage could not match weapons refined by millennia of conquest. Tanks melted beneath plasma fire. Aircraft were swatted from the sky like flies. Nuclear weapons were launched in desperation, only to be swallowed by shimmering alien shields. And when the Dominion soldiers came, humanity finally saw the face of its conquerors. They were tall, armored in black exoplates that hissed and pulsed with unnatural life. Their eyes glowed with cold fire, their voices like grinding stone. They called themselves the Eternal Dominion, and in their tongue, their words meant one thing: slavery is mercy, resistance is death. The world broke in weeks. Governments collapsed one by one. Leaders who had once boasted of freedom and sovereignty were dragged in chains before alien tribunals. Billions of humans were rounded up, separated from their families, and herded onto colossal transport ships bound for prison worlds and labor camps scattered across the stars. Some resisted. In the streets of London, civilians hurled Molotov cocktails at Dominion patrols. In the deserts of Africa, scattered military remnants launched ambushes on supply lines. In the jungles of South America, human guerrillas struck from the shadows, vanishing before Dominion forces could retaliate. But for every victory, the reprisals were brutal. Cities were leveled. Entire populations were slaughtered to make an example of Earth's defiance. Yet in the silence of the camps, in the darkness of transport ships, humanity whispered. They whispered of freedom, of vengeance, of survival. Fathers whispered to sons, soldiers whispered to prisoners, scientists whispered to farmers. We are not broken. Not yet. The Dominion had enslaved countless species before humanity. The Vadrath, once proud warriors, were broken into docile servants. The KRYTH, a brilliant race of scientists, now built weapons for their masters in silence. The Dominion believed humans would be no different, that within a generation, humanity's fire would burn out, smothered beneath chains and despair. They were wrong, for humanity was not like the others. Even in defeat, in chains, in blood and ashes, one truth remained. Earth had fallen, but humanity had not. And somewhere, hidden in the shadows of the galaxy, the first sparks of rebellion began to glow. Sparks in the darkness. The Dominion believed they had crushed humanity. To them, Earth was just another conquered world, a jewel shattered and pocketed, its people scattered across the endless black. For millennia, this pattern had repeated. Species resisted, species were enslaved, and in time they bent the knee. The Dominion ruled because none dared to defy them. But humans were different. In the labor camps of Koroth, the air stank of burning ore and industrial ash. Prisoners worked endless shifts, chained to machines that carved into the planet's crust. Dominion overseers patrolled with shock lances, their armor gleaming in the artificial light. Most species toiled in silence, beaten into submission long ago. But in the shadows of the tunnels, humans whispered. A former engineer named Captain Elias Ward sketched crude designs in the dirt, showing others how Dominion energy relays could be sabotaged with nothing more than scrap metal and smuggled tools. An old farmer, known only as Marisol, kept spirits alive, telling stories of Earth's blue skies and green fields, reminding the young why they must endure. Even broken and bleeding, humanity carried fire in its chest. And then it happened. One night, as the shift change echoed through the mines, a blast ripped through the refinery's power core. Flames roared upward, machinery toppled, and an entire wing of the facility went dark. The Dominion assumed it was an accident, but the humans knew better. The first act of rebellion had begun. Across the galaxy, other sparks flared. On the prison moon of Clyros, a group of human prisoners cracked the Dominion surveillance grid. With stolen access codes in bare hands, they took control of the comms tower for less than an hour. But in that hour, a message was sent out across space. Not a plea, not a surrender. A promise. We are not broken. We are not slaves. We are humanity, and we will rise again. The message was quickly suppressed, erased from official Dominion records, and the prisoners executed in public to send a warning. But the words could not be killed. The broadcast reached the ears of other enslaved species, the Vadrath, the KRYDH, the Alanari. For the first time in centuries, they heard something dangerous. Hope. The Dominion tightened its grip. Patrols increased. Surveillance grew harsher. Executions multiplied. Yet every punishment only fanned the flames. Humans learned to fight with scraps. They turned mining drills into rail spears. They sharpened tools into blades. They stole Dominion energy cells and turned them into bombs. But more importantly, they spread their fire to others. Fight with us, they told the Vadrath. Remember your honor, they told the KRYDH. Your chains are not eternal, they told the Alanari. For the first time, the enslaved began to listen. The Dominion could sense something stirring, though they did not yet understand it. To them, humans were insignificant, a primitive, fragile species whose homeworld had burned in days. They could not fathom that these same humans, scattered and broken, were teaching others how to resist. But in the dark corners of space, whispers became plans. Plans became sabotage. Sabotage became battle. And across the stars, the first sparks of rebellion spread like wildfire. The Dominion had ruled unchallenged for millennia, but humanity had lit a fuse. And soon, the galaxy would burn. The fire spreads. The Dominion had ruled for 10,000 years. Their empire stretched across the spiral arms of the galaxy, an unbroken chain of worlds bound in fear. No uprising had ever survived. No rebellion had ever lasted more than a season. Until now, it began with a single stolen ship. On the prison world of Klyros, human engineers and Vadrath warriors joined forces, overpowering their guards during a transfer. They seized a Dominion patrol vessel, sleek, black, and thought to be unbreachable. With human cunning and Vadrath strength, they cracked its systems wide open. Within weeks, they had learned to fly it, to fight with it, to own it. That ship became the Ember, and the Ember lit the galaxy. The Dominion laughed at first. A single stolen vessel? A single band of slaves daring to strike back? They dispatched the destroyer to hunt it down. The destroyer never returned. The Ember did not fight with honor. It fought with human ingenuity. Where Dominion warships relied on brute force, the Ember used traps, ambushes, and desperation. The humans overloaded plasma vents, turned asteroids into shrapnel clouds, and tricked the destroyer into firing upon its own escorts. When the wreckage burned, when the ashes drifted through the void, the galaxy understood. The slaves had drawn blood. From that moment, rebellion erupted everywhere. On Jirak, 9 Dominion patrols were ambushed by miners wielding weapons hidden in or carts. On Vadrath Prime, warriors who had bowed for centuries reclaimed their blades, led by human tacticians. On Korath, the great labor camps exploded in open revolt. And everywhere, at the heart of every uprising, there were humans, fighting not just for themselves, but teaching others to fight as well. The Dominion struck back with fury. Entire fleets were dispatched to crush the flames. Their warships unleashed storms of plasma that could turn a city into glass in minutes. They razed colonies, slaughtered millions, and broadcast executions across the stars to break morale. But humanity did not break. On the desert moon of Rika, 1,000 human rebels and their KRYDH allies faced a Dominion battalion 10 times their size. The sky burned with dropships. The sand churned under armored walkers. Any other species would have fled. Humans dug in. They laid traps, explosives buried beneath the dunes, trip mines made from stripped Dominion cells, ambushes hidden in canyon walls. When the Dominion advanced, the rebels struck like wolves. Walkers toppled, dropships burned, and soldiers were dragged screaming into the sand. The battle raged for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, the Dominion took Rika, but at a cost so steep, their commanders whispered a human savagery was something they had never felt before. Fear. Across the stars, Word spread faster than Dominion censors could silence it. The humans fight. The humans do not bow. The humans can win. World by world, the fire spread. The Dominion tried to stamp it out. They executed entire cities to silence rebellion. They sent fleets to blockade entire systems. But the more they struck, the more the galaxy turned against them. Because this was not just a war. It was an idea. And the idea was simple. No chains are unbreakable. The Dominion still held the throne world. They still commanded fleets beyond counting. But for the first time in millennia, they bled. And humanity, the last species to be enslaved, the first a rebel, was leading the charge. The galaxy had seen the fire, and now it was ready to burn. The chains shatter. The Dominion was dying. For 10,000 years, its fleets had ruled unchallenged, its laws enforced with fire and fear. But now, cracks split the Empire's armor. World by world, rebellion spread like wildfire. Slave races once thought broken beyond repair now carried weapons in their hands. And at the heart of it all, always, were humans. The last to be enslaved, the first to fight back. The spark that had become an inferno. The Dominion's throne world, Verathis, was a fortress unlike any other. Its skies bristled with defense grids, its orbit wrapped in shipyards and war fleets, its surface a maze of towering citadels carved from black stone. The Dominion Emperor himself resided there, a figure of myth whose word had enslaved billions. To strike at Verathis was madness. So humanity did exactly that. The Allied fleets gathered in the void, stolen Dominion warships, KRY-EH science vessels reforged into cruisers, Vadrath battleships once used to enforce tyranny, and 100 smaller ships cobbled together from scraps and desperation. At their core flew the human-led vessels, the Ember, the Iron Will, the Freedom's Dawn. Their numbers were pitiful compared to the Dominion Grand Armada. Their technology was inferior, their weapons outdated. But they carried something the Dominion had never understood, the unyielding will to fight until the very last breath. The battle began as a rebellion fleet emerged from hyperspace. The Dominion responded instantly. Thousands of warships surged forward, a tide of steel and firepower designed to crush all hope. The void lit up with lances of plasma, energy beams carving through the darkness like a second sun. Allied ships shattered under the onslaught, torn apart in blossoms of fire. But humanity fought differently. They darted between capital ships, turned wreckage into cover, and rammed crippled vessels into enemy lines. The KRY-TH hacked Dominion command codes, turning defense grids against their masters. The Vadrath stormed boarding actions with roars of fury, cutting through once feared soldiers with blades reclaimed from their ancestors. And the humans led every charge. On the Ember, Captain Ward's voice cut through the comms. If we fall today, we fall as free men and women. If we die unbroken. Forward, always forward. The battle raged for days. Fleets clashed, planets burned, and the skies above Verathis became a graveyard of fire. For every Allied ship destroyed, 2 more Dominion vessels fell. For every soldier lost, a dozen rose in their place, fueled by rage and hope. At last, the rebellion broke through the orbital defenses. The Ember led the charge through the atmosphere, weaving through storms of fire, engines screaming. Behind it followed a tide of transports, carrying the last, desperate wave of soldiers, humans, and allies alike. They struck the Emperor's citadel itself. The fighting on the surface was brutal. Dominion war beasts thundered through the streets, crushing buildings beneath their feet. Soldiers in black armor poured fire into the rebels, their discipline unshaken even as the battle turned against them. But the rebels did not falter. Humans hurled themselves into the fray, blades flashing, rifles blazing, voices raised in a single cry. No more chains. Through blood and fire, they carved their way to the Emperor's throne. And there, at last, the galaxy saw the truth. The Emperor was not a god, not eternal, not invincible. He was just another tyrant. Dragged from his throne in chains, his empire burning around him, the last words he heard were not Dominion prayers, but the voice of a human soldier whispering in his ear, "Your reign is over." When the smoke cleared, when the fires dimmed, the galaxy was silent. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Dominion was no more. Humanity, once enslaved, had become the liberators. They had taught the galaxy a truth too long forgotten. No chains are unbreakable. And as the freed races stood together on the ashes of empire, one truth rang across the stars. They had enslaved the galaxy. But humanity refused the chains. And in doing so, humanity had set them all free.